What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. So I would like to welcome to the show for the very first time somebody that some of you all might be familiar with, especially if you hang out in literally any comment section, live chat section on YouTube or on Rockfin. I call her the most popular woke supporter in the progressive movement. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Glory Jones. How are you doing, Glory?
I'm doing great, Niko. Technically, my MCSC debut did come with pasta in that interview I did with Fire
We're
Puff
not
and
counting
Tess.
that. We're not counting that. We're not counting that. But I would consider Glory an honorary member of the MCSC network. To be honest with you, I don't really understand how she is all the places that she is at half the time. Because so when I first met Glory, outside of social media, it was actually at a protest in Miami. But the first time I had seen Glory talk or speak was on the convo couch. And so of course I was a little confused because I didn't even understand why she was in Miami at that point to begin with. And at every Tulsi event I've ever been at, Glory has somehow managed to be there. And every, the protests that I've been to in Miami, she was there. I see her at events with Pasta and Fiorella in LA. So you're around. You're not, and you're a college student, and you do a bunch of extracurricular activities too, and you're on Twitter all the time. Like I don't even know how you're doing that because you're literally on Twitter all the time.
It's just second nature at this point, honestly.
It's impressive. It's impressive. I'm not gonna lie. It's very impressive. I don't even understand how you do like everything. And then you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I got classes today. So I'm like, what? What do you mean? You're a college student? Nah, I'm impressed though. We need more people to be active like you. So I brought on Glory today because we're in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic situation. A lot of people's lives have been affected by this quarantine. Now, none probably more than California residents specifically, and none probably more than the college students who are in California. Glory was going to school in the LA area. So please explain to people the unique impact that COVID-19 has had on, well, college students. I feel like that's something that doesn't get discussed enough.
So we're pretty much just getting silently screwed because we're still dependent and we're mainly between the ages of 17 and 24. We already don't qualify for the stimulus check. The only way we can really get any sort of aid is if we already have a work study award, and then maybe there's a chance we can work with our supervisor to get the rest of our work study compensated. But other than that, there's really little we can do for financial aid. I think there might have been one earmark in the stimulus, which was like, I think it was 12.5 billion allocated to like 5,000 different colleges or so. But I mean, there's really little we can do. And also, it's just so hard to keep up with everything because they want us to go home unless if you're an international student, in which case you're kind of screwed. So you can stay on campus if you're an international student, or you can try to go home, but you can't really go home. So
yeah, you're probably not gonna be able to go home.
Yeah, I know one player on the girls basketball team, actually, she was able to get home to Poland. Don't know where in Poland, but that's where she's from. She was able to get home, but the other international girls on the team from London and Romania still on campus, stuck on campus, and they're just kind of like that. It's also hard to move out as well, just because like they send you home and then they say, oh, actually, we're going to move online classes to the rest of the semester. So basically, right now, my stuff is sitting in my apartment and I can't go back until like the end of May to move my stuff out. And well, right now I'm in Miami, but I go to school in LA. And in terms of classes, it's just a very interesting situation. I almost feel, well, no, I do feel bad for the teachers as well, because they essentially have to rewire their entire curriculum to be able to suit the online format. And in the case of my school, they only did it within a period of like a week and a half. So with some classes, it's like you'll meet in person through Zoom, or like they moved it to an entirely like just entirely off schedule, where you'll have like modules to complete, or you'll have assignments to turn in, or you'll have like a discussion post to make. But yeah, they also have to adapt some of the assignments, and some of the grading, they had to change it from to what's it called, credit no credit. Yeah, in the case of my school, if you do credit no credit, it can't count towards your major or your core, but they had to change it so that way you can make it count towards your major or your core, just to accommodate with the situation.
That's
So
crazy. I'm
yeah.
like, well, because so I guess technically I'm still considered a recent college grad. I graduated in 2016. And I'm just thinking like, man, if halfway through my semester, like my senior year, I go away for spring break
And then you
thinking I'm
don't
going to
come
come
back.
back. I'm about to finish my time, have a great time with my friends. I'm about to, wild out for the last 3 months of my college career and just have the time of my life. And they're like, oh, just kidding. You can't come back. And it's not even like you said, it's not even like, oh, come back and get your stuff and leave. No, for a lot of these people, it was literally, no, you cannot come back here. And
Yeah.
that's kind of hard to take in. Like, how do you deal with that if you're a college student? And not only how do you deal with it, because people forget, like people use, so I was one of those people who had to use the college facilities for different reasons, right? So I had ADHD, so I got special exception whenever I took the LSAT. And I had to use the college facilities to do my testing to begin with to get tested for ADHD. There are a lot of people who have to use college facilities that don't have health insurance unless they were in college, right? And then that health insurance is very specific to the college campus. They don't have, maybe they went through the pharmacy on campus. Maybe they were getting special exceptions through campus. I mean, there's a lot of things that people use the college campus and their apparatus for, and now they won't be able to do that at all, but they may not have a lot of money to take care of themselves back at home.
Yeah, it sucks because especially if you're only able to go to college because you're on a scholarship, or you just can't afford it otherwise, so you're on like an academic or an athletic or whatever it is scholarship, and within that scholarship they'll typically include like housing and meal plans and access to all other facilities.
Exactly.
So if you're getting sent home, you don't have that meal plan anymore, which kind of sucks.
And you already
But
paid for it. So it probably
yeah.
means you're not getting a refund.
Yeah. No, you're not getting a refund because colleges are just kind of like ramming through with classes. So
Wow.
there's no intent to really give you any refund.
So you're a sophomore?
Yeah.
Sophomore, okay. Have you talked to any of your upper class friends that are dealing with like the ramifications of this regarding their prospects on grad school, professional school? Like how are they, like I know I had to take the LSAT towards the end of my senior year. Clearly that that's not happening for anybody who planned on taking the LSAT this semester, right? And so how have people's lives been affected regarding their ability to prepare and apply for like professional school or for grad school?
Yeah, it kind of sucks just because in the case of the LSAT, where you need kind of in-person interactions to be able to study and prepare for that, the best way you can do that is through Zoom. So it just kind of like puts a handicap on everything. And I mean, I feel awful for seniors because what are they going to do for a graduation? I have a younger sister.
Have a Zoom graduation party. What do you mean?
Yeah, I have a younger sister who's a senior in high school right now. And
Oh,
I mean, to be honest, I'm not too sad about missing her graduation because it's a class of 2,000 kids. So I'm not trying to listen to 2,000 kids walk.
that's a lot of kids. Good God.
Yeah, I know. It's Cypress Bay. It's one of the biggest high schools in the nation. So at the same time, like it's your senior year, like you ain't gonna get no prom, no graduation, you can't walk, like what are you gonna do, get your diploma in the mail? It kind of sucks for seniors. for sophomores, it's like, it's all right, just because, you know, you're going to be able to get back into it eventually. But especially with seniors, if you're trying to prepare for something bigger,
Damn, their
or if you
prom
have
is
something,
canceled.
I
They're not having a
know.
oh damn. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah, it's hitting
heartbreaking.
now.
Damn, that's so true. And because of the time, well, I guess some seasons of sports are lucky, but
Ugh.
but like football seniors and football recruits and basketball recruits, they really edged out of this.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
no,
basketball
basketball
not even,
didn't.
because the tournament got
That's
canceled.
true. That's
The
true because they don't start their season until January, right? When they get back
Yeah.
from spring break.
Well,
Damn, that's
well,
so. How are they doing these recruits now?
because with college basketball, they do pre-conference play from
Mm-hmm.
like November through December, and then January they start conference play, and then going into March they do their regional tournaments.
Yeah.
And then after that they have like March Madness and all that good stuff. But
Yeah,
like
and that's done.
the March Madness part just got axed.
But for the high school players, they don't start their season until January. I think some of them do like a little mini tournament
For high
depending on
school,
what division you are. But
yeah, for high school basketball, it's more like the season actually starts in like late November almost. I'm trying to remember, but like November, December definitely.
yeah,
And then you're playing through December and January, and then your high school playoffs take place in February.
yeah.
So
That's done, which is
yeah,
crazy because once
high
again,
school season was able to get through, but
there are some
college
people who might
that just
have
got axed.
got saved. There are a couple of recruits out there that might have been overrated that might have gotten saved. But
Oh yeah.
but for those who are trying to kind of make a name for themselves going into this season, especially because you're looking at a lot of recruits. I mean, we just saw two now that are going to the G League.
If you're a rising senior, you're absolutely screwed, because like the February viewing period and the 2 viewing periods in July for travel basketball, your junior to senior year are the most important viewing periods of your entire like recruiting.
And that's where all the camps. That's when all the camps are too.
Yeah. So if you're a rising senior and like you haven't gotten any offers yet, your best chance to get those offers is during the February viewing period and the 2 July viewing periods. Now, if those are going to get axed because of the pandemic, then there's not much hope. You're going to kind of have to scramble to make a commitment, which is what a lot of players are doing.
Damn. Well, I really appreciate that. A lot of people who watch the show have children that are, in that junior, senior period or in college. I'm sure a lot of them are kind of curious about how, I know that they know how logistically it affects them, but I wonder if they have taken the time to actually ask the kids like, yo, how are you dealing with this? Because this isn't some small thing. Like, when you're in high school, a senior in high school, that's like the most important thing in the world to you. And it just like taken away from you like that, or even in college, man, I couldn't imagine. I really could not imagine just being upended with no say in the most important year of my life. I couldn't imagine it. So I want to switch gears really quick though, because you are in college. You are, for those of you who do not know, a very, very active political participant. And there has been this myth that has been circulating these political talk shows, and a lot of the pundits have been using this as an excuse as to why Bernie Sanders didn't perform well.
Sorry.
AOC. Oh, did she say that? Did she say that too? I thought she actually acknowledged voter suppression.
She said like she did some little like gaslighting, slithering out of it. I don't even know.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember it pissed me off.
So there's a myth that the youth do not turn out to vote, that the youth are simply not active enough, that the youth did not pull their weight as far as getting candidates like Bernie Sanders elected. To that, what would you say, Glory? Because you were there. You were in LA during the California Democratic primary, and you saw a lot of what happened. So what do you say to that?
I'll say it's a damn lie. That's just it in the purest sense. Like,
what about your experiences will make you say that?
Like, okay, so I'm in the gym because the team has practice, and I'm managing for the basketball team. And there's a building on the opposite side of campus, which is a polling station, a voting station where they're voting. So it's like 12-1, and the power in the gym goes out. And I'm like, hold up, what's going on?
Is that something that happens often?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was so I've only been at LMU for like, a year and a half technically, because the rest of my sophomore year got axed, but like a year and a half of being in college, this is the first time we've had a power outage. And I'm hearing that it's a power outage over the whole area. The power in the voting center goes out. And I go there as soon as practice ends, and I just see this huge line, and I see like these workers kind of scrambling to get it done. I'm like, so I asked them, I'm like, do you know if the power outage did anything? Like, did it affect the recollection of data or anything like that? They're like, oh, we don't know. It'll probably be all right. Hopefully. I'm like, ah, shit.
It'll probably be all right. Hopefully. We know that the future of the nation depends on these votes.
Yeah.
And the youth vote is the most important vote, as they are the largest base now. The millennial base is the largest voting base in the country. But hey, hopefully things will work out.
They use those nice new voting machines as well.
How many did y'all have in your voting center?
I'm trying to think. Maybe like 8 or so. I don't even know how many of them were working.
That's actually better than what UCLA had.
It was.
Honestly. But it's not enough.
I don't know how many of them were working though. That's the problem.
How many people would you say were in the line? Was it in the hundreds?
It definitely wasn't as big as some of the ones at like the bigger colleges like UCLA, but
it was pretty long and it was packed with students.
Put it this way, it was long enough to the point where I visited the center at 9:30 p.m. at night, and I'm seeing people like sitting in circles. I'm seeing people like doing homework. Some people are even falling asleep. So
okay, that's pretty damn long.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still long, and it's crazy because it's at 9, like you said, 9 at night, and you still have like a line that doesn't seem to be dissipating anytime soon. And then UCLA, I do know Fiorello went out there to check that out, and it was worse. It was worse at UCLA for early voting. There were lines, and they had like 4 machines or something like that at UCLA, where not only the students at UCLA were voting, but literally everybody in the area was voting at UCLA. And so you go to UCLA expecting this type of place to be prepared for the onslaught of voters that they're about to deal with. And it seems like they were purposely handicapped, which is unacceptable. But then once again, we fast forward, and the students are somehow getting the blame for all of this. The students have gotten more blame for the underperformance of Bernie Sanders in areas like Texas, like California, than the actual board of elections and the supervisors have gotten.
The board of supervisors had $300 million to get their act together. And that's what happened.
We still don't know what the hell they spent that money on. I don't know what they couldn't have spent it on anything. I mean, it's like they just paid a bunch of people like 150 million. They pocketed another 100 million, and then they like use the rest of the 50 million to give a corporation some money to put these machines out there to bribe them off. Because that's all it seems like.
That sounds about right.
And this was the most coordinated effort of voter suppression that I had ever seen in California. That was ridiculous.
That's so true.
So were you because you got to stay there a little bit after the vote. So do you feel like anyone was, did anybody talk to you about not even being able to vote, like being kept off the voter rolls, or like they get there and their name's not there, or their name was switched to a different party?
I didn't stay long enough to see like enough cases of that. I'm sure there were. What I did, like the switching party stuff, what I did know was that they were trying to push the provisionals on people. So one thing I did try to do.
Oh, like, there we go.
I'm trying to say, like, I'm saying, don't take provisional, please.
See, and that's what I'm saying. When you take a provisional ballot,
you can kiss it goodbye.
It's gone. It's at least at the very, very bare minimum. Say we're being completely and totally optimistic. It's not being counted that day. And so what do they then run with on the news the next day? When 150,000 or 200,000 kids get provisional ballots, you can then say, truthfully so, oh, well, the youth just didn't vote because their votes don't count. It will only count provisionally once that vote has been researched and approved. They want to verify everything and all that good shit. Verify. But
verification.
But in the short,
you have a white sounding name or a Latino sounding name. That's the verification.
Yeah, and your age, because how recently have you become a Democrat and register to vote. So
Yeah.
those are all, and unfortunately for most kids in LA, especially, y'all check all those boxes. So they just said, shit, we'll just give all of them provisional ballots at that point.
Yeah.
And that's what happens whenever the power goes out. Guess what ballots you get? Provisional ballots. They were doing that not only at the colleges, but there was another situation where Fiorella saw that happen in real time. Pasta and Fiorella saw this happen in real time, and Pasta just went off because they were saying, "Oh, well, the power's out, so here's a provisional ballot," and he's like, "Well, why are you giving away provisional ballots? Oh, because the power's out. Because if you
why?
So the way the LA system works, in case you don't know, you get a paper ballot anyway to run through the machine.
Yeah.
So when they're like, oh, the power is out, so here's a provisional ballot, there's no logic to that. There's no reason.
It's a really weird system. Like it's like you said, it's the most coordinated, uncoordinated effort to suppress the vote ever.
Yeah. And and once again, the students, for whatever reason, are bearing the brunt of the blame.
Oh yeah.
For the turnout issue. And I was like, there's no way. I saw way too many people, way too many students.
Yeah.
The lines. I mean, it was disgusting to see. And people are more concerned with blaming students than trying to ensure that the votes of those students count. So moving on.
And not to mention, when it was me, Fee, and Tina Desiree was there, Pasta had to leave early. But when we were at the Board of Supervisors meeting and they were talking about the elections, they were essentially saying, before they prefaced everything with, oh, well, I had a great time voting because I voted early. Maybe the students should have voted early, which obviously wasn't the case because our voting centers weren't open early. So
right, and most of them don't have vehicles, and most of them you have to vote in your. No, actually, California, I guess they did change the laws, although they didn't. If you're a freshman in college, there's no way you know what the hell is going on that year.
Oh yeah.
As far as the changes in the law, there's no way. Because I wouldn't have known if Fiorella and Pasta didn't tell me, and they had to literally go hunt people down to tell them the correct way to vote. So, but I want to move on. So you was talking on Twitter the other day about how you used to suffer from TDS, which is known as Trump derangement syndrome, at one point in your young life. Okay, so you went from you were a Bernie supporter and you have Trump. You used to suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, and then you have evolved to the point where you are now a Tulsi supporter.
Yes.
So you've been through damn near all the stages of the left. I always say that supporting Tulsi is the very last stage of being a true populist, but not because of Tulsi herself, but because of all the things obviously that she speaks for and stands for.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to ignore them if you do care about these issues. And so can you explain to people your personal evolution and how is it having that evolution in an environment where it's basically well, let's just be honest, they don't really talk about any of the important issues that are often brought up by people like Tulsi or on this network. But being a Bernie Sanders supporter was absolutely trendy in LA. And also suffering from TDS was absolutely trendy. So how was that evolutionary process for you?
So basically, I was never really into politics until I was like 15. Before that, I was just a massive history nerd. And then like the kind of lead up to 2015-16 happened, and I'm just watching the primary. The Republican primary was hilarious. And then watching the Democratic primary between Bernie and Hillary, and I'm like, this is legitimately awesome. Like, I'm finding myself to be really interested in these issues. And then every time they would talk foreign policy, I would just love it. And then,
be honest, the free college is what made you start watching. That's
it wasn't the free college. It was the foreign policy part. Because I'm a genuine history nerd.
Got you.
Yeah. And then I think it was a conversation about either Iran or Syria that just hooked me. And from there, like, I just kept following it. And, Bernie really got me into it, and he really gave me.
If it was 2016, it's probably Syria.
Yeah, Syria. I think so. But he also did do a couple town halls on Iran, I remember. So he just got me hooked. And from there, I just kept like getting more and more into politics. And then I was pissed when he lost, but I was like, oh, it's okay. He can get concessions with Hillary, just because I didn't know enough at the time. And then
Hillary giving concessions.
Yeah, I just didn't know enough at the time. I'll say that, like, my 16-year-old self, I just didn't know enough. So when she ended up losing to Trump, I was so pissed because I was like, just like the typical, like, oh, we could have had a woman, like, at least with her, we could have gotten, you know, healthcare and maybe some better policy towards Iran or something. And then, like, I just had a terrible case of TDS.
Yeah, nah, like, I'm pretty sure not only would she have assassinated Soleimani, but she might have did it herself. She might have actually walked up and pulled the trigger on that man. Okay, Hillary is crazy when it comes to Iran.
Well, and she probably would have droned Julian Assange as well. So yeah, but I mean,
that whole prison would have been exploded by now.
I fell into, like, the whole, like, I don't know what it calls, like, TDS hole. Like, I think I wore an Obama shirt on his inauguration day. It was just so bad. And then
oh, don't say that. Oh, Lord, baby Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I evolved. That's why I can talk about it so openly. And then what happened? 2018 came around and the midterms happened. And I just remember being so disappointed because, like, Broward County elections was just an absolute mess. And at the time, I was doing phone banking and text banking to get Amendment 4 passed.
Oh.
And
nice.
So at the same time, because we also wanted to help out with, you know, the election mess. So I was sending out like 50,000 affidavits to people, just stressing myself out while being a freshman in college, trying to deal with our horrible elections because Broward County elections just suck. Wow. And I was just so pissed. I'm like, why is no one talking about election integrity? And then the whole time I'm also thinking, why is no one talking about foreign policy? Why am I the only one watching these Bernie town halls on Iran? So I just kept getting frustrated. And then I was like, you know, it's going to be all right because Bernie's running again. And then lo and behold, Tulsi announces, and I'm like, oh, snap. That's cool. And then I see the first thing I saw about her was like this smear article about how she was raised in a cult and she like grew up anti-gay. And I'm like, well, screw that. Let me just research her. And then I just absolutely fell in love. Like, just
for me, whenever I see smears, like I immediately like, oh man, I actually think I really like this candidate now. Let me check them out. Like, that's usually what happens. I've been in politics long enough to know whenever any publication takes their time to smear you. Like, I mean, there's some they thoroughly smeared Tulsi. With Bernie, there's generally smear. They say, oh, let's play on tropes of socialism and take the easy route. Nah, with Tulsi, they literally did research to push out half-truths about her life.
I know.
Because of the type of threat she was.
Well, for like, me, even the smear article they did on you. Even the smear article they did on you with the Huffington Post. Yeah. I read that and I started laughing. I'm like, is this Niko House or Black Alex Jones? Like, what?
Well, hey, they got me like 3,000 subscribers when they smeared me. So,
oh, okay.
I appreciated it in the end.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. But, I mean, so when I researched her, I was just like completely sold. And then I went to the big March meet and greet with you, Jimmy, Pasta, Feed Johnny, all of them. And then like,
oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that was
March, I saw you and Pasta debunk Peter Friedrich live. So I was like, oh, I gotta follow this channel now. I gotta follow this channel now. And then yeah, from there I just started putting in more and more hours for Tulsi. And like, it didn't even, like, half the time it didn't even feel like I was putting in hours for Tulsi. It genuinely felt like I was putting in hours for something I felt passionate about. Cause like I was putting up flyers for not even Tulsi, but for like the OFF Act, for securing America's elections, for like stop arming terrorists. And then I started like going to local like political groups on campus. And I was telling them about like, listen, let me educate you about Julian Assange. Cause it was just that, like, it just felt bigger than Tulsi. So yeah. And then obviously the big LA town hall. Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, clearly you're just a wholesale, Lori. Okay. They're clearly just a Tulsi, so that's the only reason you would support somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. I'm just saying.
I love her so much. I nearly died at a Santa Monica beach workout with her. That's how far I'll go to support her.
Yeah, you crazy for that because I support the hell out of her, and I'm not working out with Tulsi. I don't lost y'all mind. I told her that from the beginning. They have been trying to get me to work out for them, and I look over to the right, and I'm like, Abe, why aren't you working out with Tulsi in the morning? He's like, oh well, man, look, yeah, man. AJ works out with her, but you know, I'm like, that's not even the reason. You didn't even answer the question, Abe. Look, man, sometimes
bro, Tulsi gave every Tulsi volunteer the smoke that day. I don't even know what happened.
Bro,
I'm thinking like, oh, this is gonna be great beach workout with Tulsi. And then I go there and I'm like, oh snap, there's feed. This is gonna be awesome. And then they're making us do like planks and jumping over
and
each
I
other.
heard y'all got the light version. And y'all got the light version of the workout. I know. That's
We're
crazy.
doing like bear crawls in the sand. I'm like, bro, is
y'all
this really necessary?
Too, right?
We weren't flipping tires. I'll correct the record on that. We did not flip tires. We just ran with medicine balls.
You know, it's crazy. For the first, at least the first half of her campaign, she was getting up at 6 a.m. every day, except for maybe except for one day, which is usually the travel day, and working out. I mean, like, ain't no listen. They invited me to work out here in Miami. Nah. I said I'll meet up with y'all after though. I got you.
Oh my God.
I'm a workout. I gotta do my own workout. You know, I got special. Listen, y'all, my muscles is fake. I keep telling y'all this. These muscles are for show. Okay. Tulsi got real people muscles. The muscles are practical, for practical use. She will drop kick you and you will be gone on the floor. They're lucky that this primary was not determined in a goddamn octagon, because everybody would get their ass whipped by Tulsi. It's not a game.
Yeah.
Okay. So so you ended up deciding that these issues were just far more important than most people would be. Well, obviously, most people don't even talk about these issues, right? Mm-hmm. And some people were not talking about the issues, let's be honest, because their favorite candidate at the time wasn't talking about these issues.
Oh, yeah.
And they were worried that acknowledging the reality of these issues may potentially weaken that particular candidate in the eyes of the voters. And so what do you feel? Do you feel like there was almost like a concerted effort to silence Tulsi, not just because of her being a threat to the establishment, not even just because of her being a threat to various progressive candidates, but also because she was so good on which I don't believe they're controversial, but they're called controversial issues. But she was great at them. She was great on them. And their candidates, they were maybe good on one of those issues, but trash absolutely on the other three.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there was a concerted effort to kind of speak less, or even be completely silent on some issues to help some candidates?
Yeah. I mean, 100%, because like within 20 seconds of debate time, Tulsi was essentially able to say that we're funding terrorists in Syria. And she must have said that within like 20 seconds. And not to mention, like, the moment you get talking about something like Libya, you figure out that Bernie supported it. In Syria, you figured out that Bernie believed in, the gas attack narrative. And then even with something like Venezuela, Bernie's saying, oh, we shouldn't go into Venezuela. But at the same time, Nicolas Maduro is like a vicious tyrant. No, you can't do that. You can't say Maduro's a tyrant, but we want the socialism from the Scandinavian countries. That's just like, what kind of
demand internationally supervised elections when you won't even acknowledge the legitimacy of our elections.
I know. Isn't that what his response to Bolivia was like?
No, his response to Bolivia was, I don't know if you consider it better or worse, but basically, so Evo Morales had endorsed him prior to that coup.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so because of that, he vehemently defended Evo Morales because it was pretty cut and dry. It was clear that it was a right-wing fascist military coup that overthrew him. Oh, yeah. So there's no black and white there, or there's no, gray there. There was clear that there was one wrong party and one right party, and the right party just so happened to endorse Bernie as well.
Yeah. I think it was something where like he defended Evo Morales, but at the same time he was like, the Bolivian people are entitled to free and fair elections, which is like, yeah, bro, their elections are 50 times better.
Elon said that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Elon said that too.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about because our elections just suck. If this was another country, we would have already sanctioned them. So
we would have invaded them, right? We would have already, if what happened in 2016, this was bad, but unfortunately, COVID is going to be for a long time in the mainstream media, the discussion that surrounds this particular election. They're not going to talk about the blatant election fraud, the election rigging that we saw. The shadow app is going to fall into the shadows, unfortunately, just like Pete Buttigieg's hairline. They're going to try to deflect and they're going to try to deflect blame. But in my opinion, this election rigging, we would be invaded. There would be a coup.
Oh yeah,
100%. In any other country except for this one.
Like 100%. If like roles were reversed and this was China, then one of us would probably be appointed interim president already. Like I don't even know because
not one of us. We're black.
Okay.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
Maybe white. Went to a school after being handpicked by the CIA. Holds their camera in portrait mode when trying to.
I still can't believe that.
Yeah,
Juan Guaido is so horrible at doing coups. He became a meme.
Yeah,
like, bro.
He's so bad that people don't even realize that like the opposition party doesn't even like him.
Oh yeah.
Like the Socialist Party doesn't like
him.
The opposition party doesn't even like him. Like nobody likes you, bro. How are you gonna be the president of a country where literally even the bad party doesn't like you? Like you're shitty at this being bad thing.
No, there's literally a video of him like walking through a Venezuelan airport and he's going through customs and the people are like throwing food and coffee on him and calling him a traitor. That's how bad it is.
That's why he comes to America to get gassed up by the legislature because
I know
we're literally the only people who like him.
So Nancy Pelosi can rip apart Trump's State of the Union speech, but then clap for him.
Yeah, that was weird. Well, hold on, no. She clapped for. She ripped it the second time. First time she clapped for him.
The first time was when she gave that weird clap like that or something.
And apparently it was
like her hands were like facing this way. It was so weird.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi is a fucking grandstanding.
And then people thought that was amazing. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, and then she like comes out. What was so bad was like she did actually rip the speech second time, but the first time when she did that clap, she comes down and was like, oh no, I was actually genuinely clapping.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, okay.
It was so dumb.
And I believe it too. I genuinely believe she was clapping, but she's just a fucking awkward human being.
Oh yeah, me too.
And it's like she just was like tuned in halfway out and halfway in. I guarantee it.
It's like, okay, so you want to rip up Trump's State of the Union speech. Why don't you rip up his military budgets or the Patriot Act? So that's
what she should have been ripping up. You know, it's funny. She ripped up that speech, right? And it's funny because I'm like, so in other words, you had that speech before, you read through it prior to him giving the speech, and you thought like, right now is where I'm going to decide to rip it up in front of everybody. Oh, look at how progressive I am, everybody.
Bro, and then Near Tandon was going on Twitter like, oh, this feels amazing. This is awesome. This is what we need in a leader.
Ripping up piece of paper, guys.
Yeah.
This
is
America.
And then pointing at Trump and saying all roads lead to Putin.
Now you gotta tell me, yo, how, like I know because I was at college recently, so tell me how bad it is. What's the damage report on how many people buy into the propaganda of this Nancy Pelosi love affair?
Is
it half and half?
It's too much for me just because I really can't stand it. But it's a lot of people who like think they're holding Nancy Pelosi accountable, but at the end of the day, they would just concede everything.
Well, so they seem to be like the average Democrat at that point.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's kind of like AOC, like grandstanding, but at the end of the day, you still concede. And I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. I don't even want to ask the numbers on AOC because I do know that's too overwhelming. College students overwhelmingly support that young woman. But
we all love AOC, and like for a year I loved her. Then she deferred to party leadership on Venezuela, and I was like, wait, what? Hold up, let me see something. And then turns out she's just not all that.
Yeah. And what's crazy about AOC, people say, well, if she's not a progressive, then why is the establishment trying to primary her? And I'm like, y'all don't understand. There's something a little bit more dangerous about AOC.
Yeah.
Like that's what y'all don't understand, and even the establishment sees it. And it's that she's not a. I mean, I'm gonna say she's not a progressive, right? She might be a progressive, just not by my standards. She's not a populist. I can say that.
Yeah, definitely not.
And even though she might be a progressive, and she might be a Democrat, she's not loyal to any of them, and that makes her especially dangerous. Because she's not a Democrat. She capitulates to the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi because that's what's best for her career. She's not she calls herself progressive, but she's not really, like, when it comes to her actions.
Tandon calls herself progressive too. Like, on it, exactly. I feel like that term just has like no standing anymore.
Whatsoever.
Because the fact that like the fact that more people get mad at like the fact that more people say that Tulsi isn't a progressive than that Neera Tandon isn't a progressive, it's just like it's too much. I just stop calling
but
myself
she's
that.
Not loyal to the progressive movement either.
Yeah.
Which is, so that makes her, but yet she still is the most popular politician on social media to this day. I think at one point there was only a few people, period, right, that has more Twitter engagement than she does. Like, not just in politics, but overall. At one point she was getting more. She was like top 2 in Twitter for engagement. That's insane for somebody who's not a pop star. Now, with her signing with CAA, she was on the way to a book deal. Did she
actually sign with them?
She was so to get the book deal, she had to sign with them, but she ended up not getting the book deal, or it fell through. But then, of course, we know she ended up hosting that RuPaul's Drag Race, which I did not watch.
I didn't watch it.
Of course, not that I have anything wrong. I think actually RuPaul's Drag Race is pretty entertaining for the most part, but I just didn't watch that one. But in all seriousness, for her to get that type of job, you have to have a talent agent. And it's likely that it's CAA, because they're the ones who handle it, or UTA, because they're the ones who handle all the political people. So at that point, you've kind of made it very clear that your loyalty is to nobody but AOC.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you especially dangerous to all elements of the establishment in their minds, because you're not predictable.
I mean, she's a careerist in the purest sense. Like,
not a Democratic careerist. People don't conflate the two. If she was a Democratic careerist, the Democrats would leave her alone.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. They reel her in from time to time. I mean, think about right now. She came out and said something about the Tara Reade situation. Now, that was to placate us, right?
Pretty much.
Progressives, populists, cool. People who care about the situation.
But she didn't say anything until like Bernie dropped out. And then I think it was after he endorsed Biden as well. So,
and after she was asked, like pressed about it, and she couldn't go anywhere. And she wouldn't even say Tara Reade's name. And subsequently, like the next day, she's like, but we absolutely have to support the Democratic nominee.
Oh, yeah.
Which is bizarre.
That's AOC.
And part of me wonders, bro. Part of me genuinely wonders if she knew Warren's about to get this VP pick. Because I'm pretty sure that Warren's about to get this VP pick. I'm pretty sure it's about
I'm
to
thinking
happen.
It's Warren or Stacey Abrams. Warren, just because, like, I don't know, it's Warren. But like Stacey Abrams has like legitimately been within Center for American Progress talks for VP since Hillary ran.
Yeah.
I think it was Neera Tandon who initially suggested her in one of the Podesta emails.
Yeah. If AOC was privy to this information, and they were like, go ahead, you can endorse Bernie because we need you to maintain your progressive credentials going into this election, because now she can say, don't worry, Warren's going to hold Biden accountable. Progressives, don't worry, Warren's going to fight in the Senate for everything we want, because she will technically be the leader of the Senate if she wins vice president. She won't, because that's literally the worst fucking duo. Good God, that's going to be hilarious.
I think to be fair, I think a worse duo would be Biden and Kamala.
No, because you can't really make fun of Kamala at like to the degree that you can make fun of a fake indigenous woman who went toe to toe with you and you embarrassed her in front of the entire world.
That's fair enough. I see your point, but at the same time, like with Kamala, she also weaponized her Jamaican identity to get ahead, even though she like didn't even acknowledge the fact that she was Jamaican until like 2016 when she thought it was
And
convenient
even
for her.
beyond that,
So
yeah.
I just look forward to watching her like just get roasted even more.
See, but Trump won't see in front of the country though. He won't really roast her like that about that particular issue because
But
that's a
like
little
at
bit
least on the
murky.
criminal justice front.
But on the criminal justice front, shit, it might be better for progressives if he gets Kamala, if he picks Kamala, because like I said, all of a sudden Trump will become the best criminal justice president in history. He will all of a sudden start. Well, you know, these private prisons have to go. I mean, he was the only presidential candidate in history. Well, not in history, but at least out of the two major parties that were considered top tier, he was the only one who came straight out and said, if police are killing innocent black men, then they need to be in prison.
Yeah.
He was the only one who said that. Was he pandering? Absolutely. But at least he knows how to fucking pander.
Good at pandering. At least he's good at pandering.
He brought one of the Tuskegee Airmen to the goddamn inaugural. I'm like, what?
He went to black church too.
I know, man. And he pandered his ass off while he was. I'm like, hey, look, man. Some of y'all, because what happens, I don't know if people know this, in the general election, you don't need to pander to the black vote. Yeah. And people don't really know that, but that's black people always get left behind after the primary is over because most of the black population in the United States lives in the southern states, which Democrats can't win.
Yeah.
So, but Trump pandered anyway. And he was like, because I don't know. I guess he just wants us to really like him. I don't know why. He cares about us liking him. He does not care about Mexicans and Muslims liking him and Central Americans. He cares about black people liking him. But hey, who doesn't?
He really does for some reason. I can't explain it, but like honestly, the thing is, like, as someone who's at least half black, like Trump is better for me than Biden.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
no, it's fact.
It sucks to say it, but it's true.
It's
like if I were like an Asian or a Mexican or a Muslim, it would be different. But like, no, that's not the case. I'm half black. Trump is honestly better for me.
So Manny, thanks for the super chat. He said Trump got some criminal justice reform done. And that's true.
The First Step Act, right?
First Step Act. Matter of fact, because I know some people ask about that, so I might as well use this as an opportunity to give at least a brief overview of this bill.
And he did the whole like releasing prisoners thing with Kim Kardashian, which was like
that was all in the same time frame, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says, so this is an overview of the First Step Act. On December 21st, 2018, President Trump signed into law the First Step Act of 2018, PL 115-391. The act was a culmination of bipartisan effort to improve criminal justice outcomes, as well as reduce the size of the federal prison population while creating mechanisms to maintain public safety. So they do a reduction in recidivism, to develop a risk and needs assessment system to be used by the BOP to assess the recidivism risk and criminogenic needs of all federal prisoners, to place prisoners under recidivism reducing programs and activities to address their needs and reduce risk. Under the act, the system provides guidance on the type, amount, and intensity of recidivism reduction programming and productive activities to which each prisoner is assigned, including information on which programs prisoners should participate in based upon their criminogenic needs. So that's essentially another way of talking about rehabilitation focus rather than giving them some type of needless job or that would translate to nothing once they leave. So they have incentives for success. It says that federal inmates can earn up to 54 days of good time credit for every year of their imposed sentence, rather than for every year of their sentence served. Wow, that's actually pretty damn good. For example, this change means that an offender sentenced to 10 years in prison who earns the maximum good time credits each year will earn 540 days of good credit. So it says you can also earn credits towards pre-release custody as well.
Oh yeah, I remember that part. I was surprised when this act came out. I was like, damn, this actually ain't bad.
Yeah, it's not like the best, but I mean, obviously it's a huge, you know, we got a lot to do, but sentencing, basically all this bill is doing, it's like slapping Joe Biden in the face, because it's challenging all the problems that started primarily with the 94 crime bill.
Yeah, like it's not the best, but it's just like infinitely better than anything Joe Biden could do.
Oh, see, this it says the FSA makes changes to penalties for some federal offenses. The FSA modifies mandatory minimums for sentences of some drug traffickers with prior drug convictions by increasing the threshold for prior convictions that count toward triggering high mandatory minimums for repeat offenders, reducing the 20-year mandatory minimum applicable where the offender has one prior qualifying conviction to a 15-year minimum, and reducing the life in prison mandatory minimum to a 25-year mandatory minimum for certain offenses. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's not, by no means is it perfect, but just treating prisoners like human beings by offering rehabilitation to make sure, and offering them specific skill sets, and then incentivizing them to engage in those specific skill sets so they can get out earlier, get jobs, be productive members of society. That's a step that Joe Biden has proven he is unwilling to take. So
exactly.
As a Black man who has been affected by the criminal justice system and who has friends who are currently wrapped up in the criminal justice system on felonious charges, now we are seeing a step in the right direction that Hillary Clinton, we would have absolutely not gotten that with, because she was literally invested in the private prison system.
Super predators, that's Hillary Clinton.
And then, of course, Joe Biden, who, when they asked him to apologize for the 94 crime bill, he said no. And I always get worried about that with Bernie Sanders too, to be honest with you, because as much as he talks about investing in education more than incarceration, he pushed the 94 crime bill just as hard as anybody else. And I know now he's kind of revised the story saying it was for the Violence Against Women's Act, but that's not true. If you watch some of those old clips, it might make you sick to your stomach. So I don't suggest watching those clips until you're ready for it. So
that and Bernie's foreign policy is just like problematic, because like every time it came to foreign policy during a debate, he would default to his vote on the Iraq war. And like, okay, good for you. But at the same time, where were you on Libya? Where were you on Syria? Where were you on Venezuela? Like at this point, I almost want to like revoke the Iraq war card from every like anti-war activist who is also pushing like for regime change in Syria.
Yeah, because it's not brave.
It makes no sense. Like anyone can oppose the war in Iraq. If you like, at this point, if you're still in favor of the war in Iraq, then you're just like a sociopathic neocon. We get it. But at the same time, if you disagree with that, but you were still pushing regime change war everywhere else, like it negates everything.
Look, all I'm saying is Trump pulled us out of Afghanistan. I don't think that Biden would have done the same. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because, hey, Obama, quote unquote, got Osama. Granted, the part about him not even being in Afghanistan is not discussed enough, but because that's the whole reason we like ravaged their nation. Remember, that's what everybody forgets that part, and we were just
according to Tim Ryan, the Taliban was flying planes into our buildings, so like
it's a whole nother thing. Yeah, that's some people conflate. I mean, he was, and some part of me believes that he was doing it on purpose, right? You blame the Taliban, people blame the Taliban and Al Qaeda for each other's offenses, and they conflate the two. And so Tim Ryan, by playing on that, because Al Qaeda isn't limited to Afghanistan, but the Taliban generally is, and so you can make excuses for why we need to stay there by trying to conflate the two organizations. But no, he was wrong. Al Qaeda was responsible, and Osama bin Laden was Saudi royalty who was previously employed by the United States of America.
Yeah, the whole bin Laden family was.
Yeah.
They literally suspended all flights except for the flights to get out the bin Laden family after 9/11.
Really? I did not know that. I did not know that. Well, I mean, to be honest, right? Even if they weren't necessarily guilty, right? They were high risk in some way, form, or fashion. So something was going to happen with that family once they found out bin Laden was responsible. But that's a different conversation for a different day. The moral of the story is, if we replace, I challenge, listen, y'all know I don't really care about this whole progressive puritanism thing. I don't really care about the moral high ground and the victories and all that bullshit. I'm a very practical and pragmatic person. And anybody who wants to have a debate about whether or not Biden would be better for this country than Trump, or better for specific groups than Trump, I would be more than happy to entertain that debate, even for the sake of entertainment. If you feel like because some people, their feelings, their emotions got them all riled up. They actually think that they could win. And anyone who has done 30 minutes of reading on both of them knows that that's simply not true. It's not. It's unfortunate, right? Because it's unfortunate because people always say, well, what are you going to do now? I'm like, no. That's the wrong question. The question is, why weren't people doing enough before to make sure we never arrive at these choices?
The thing is, and people, they'll cite like these marginal things. They'll be like, oh, Supreme Court. Oh, we'll have clean energy by, the year 3000. Oh, like it'll be better for Mexicans. I'm like, first of all, half of those probably aren't even true. Second of all, they're so marginal that by the point that, say, if Joe Biden were to get into office, he wouldn't deliver on any of them because presidents just move to the right anyways.
Yep.
So if he's only making marginal promises to you, he's not going to get any of it done in the White House.
He's going to find excuses for why. Concessions.
That's just how history works. Obama came in calling out Hillary Clinton and election integrity, and he came out with open slave markets in Libya and a house in Martha's Vineyard. So,
hey, look, I'm gonna tell y'all this too. For everybody who thinks that somehow these House Democrats are going to act but more benevolently during a Joe Biden administration, right? That they're going to try and push the envelope and hold him accountable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They haven't even demanded that Nancy Pelosi take Medicare for all to a floor vote. When they damn near had almost every member, every Democrat that's a member of the House sign on to the legislation.
They probably don't know that like Democrats also approved the Patriot Act and approved all of Trump's military budget. So oh hell, they went in and made sure that he couldn't be held accountable for anything. They took out they took out Tulsi's No More Presidential Wars Act, and then bitched and moaned and grandstanded whenever Trump assassinated Soleimani. Like it happened right. They took that out, and then Trump assassinated Soleimani. They're like, oh my God, we have to hold him accountable. Like you had Tulsi calling this months before it would happen, and you didn't do anything about it. Like when someone has foresight like that, listen to them.
I know. Whoa, don't say that, because they'll make excuses. They always say if you're a Tulsi supporter, you make excuses to excuse her, which is funny because like Tulsi supporters hold her accountable more than anybody else that I've seen. They're harder on her than any candidate supporters are hard on them. Yang, y'all love that man way too much. Y'all never really hard on him. But it's okay. It's okay. Y'all will admit when he's not good at something, though. I will give y'all that. Y'all will absolutely admit when he's not good at something. Bernie supporters will never. They got so delusional at one point, y'all. They were saying that he was better than Tulsi on foreign policy. That was my goddamn line. I was like, y'all have lost your mind. Bernie doesn't even think that he's better than Tulsi at foreign policy.
That's not true.
Sit them down in the room together and ask Bernie if he thinks he's better than Tulsi Gabbard at foreign policy. He wouldn't even be able to say it. I guarantee it. He would. Well, I did. I voted against Iraq.
Yep.
I voted against Iraq. I voted against Iraq too, as well.
I was fervently against the war in Iraq.
Second time though. Everybody should know that was the second time.
Yeah,
not the first war, because he was beating the drums for that one. But that's a discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
So, Glory, tell people where they can get your hot takes at.
You can just follow. I don't have a YouTube channel, but you can just follow me on Twitter. It's at Dr. Glory J with 5 J's and then 958.
Say what? What? I'm gonna write it in the chat. Say it again.
It's at Dr. Glory J 958. So it's got 5 J's and then 958. Yeah.
And
I said 5 J's because it's one of my favorite numbers.
There's most goddamn complicated, non-streamlined Twitter name ever. Okay.
There's actually a very chaotic reason for it.
Yeah, but totally not marketable. We don't have to work on that. But
just look for Glory Jones. Like, how many other Glory Joneses do you know? Okay, just look for Glory Jones.
Seems to be a pretty popular Caribbean name, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a popular well, because Glory is a more popular like Nigerian name, just because like Nigerians love to name their daughters like Faith or Hope or Glory or Charity or stuff like that. But like Jones,
whenever the white people came in and took over, I know this.
But like
anyway,
Jones is a very like English, like Jamaican type thing.
Yeah. So in other words, there are a bunch of Glory Jones out there. Is the moral of the story. So
listen, you'll be able to tell which one is mine because it'll have the hibiscus and the free Assange right next to it.
That's true. That's absolutely true. There are not a lot of Glory Jones who have the hibiscus and the free Assange. That's 100% true. So I appreciate you coming on, Glory. Make sure you all go follow her on Twitter. She does have a bunch of hot takes. She's always posting new information. I absolutely endorse Glory's hot takes and her support for the issues more than any one candidate. So go check her out on Twitter. And for everybody else, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.